sad occasion for us because of the untimely death of my partner for almost 43 years.
You will never look at the Moments members the same way again after this video. This group of talented men once had the world at their feet with their soulful hits, Love on a Two-Way Street and Sexy Mama. But behind the scenes, things were far from perfect. The group faced many struggles, from members leaving to disagreements with record labels. Then, legal issues stopped them from using their own name. On top of that, money problems became a big issue, leading to a lawsuit over unpaid royalties. Why did their success turn into pain? Let's find out.
Right now, let's welcome aboard the Soul Train for the very first time, three very handsome and talented young men who comprise one of the finest singing groups of all time, the fabulous Moments.
The Moments started in Washington, D.C. in the mid-1960s. The first members were Eric Ulfus Sr., Richard Gross, and John Morgan. They were a harmony group that loved singing together. In 1965, they got a big chance when the Mizell brothers and Freddie Perrin, along with Toby Jackson, started a record company called Hog Records. The Moments signed with them and recorded 2 songs, Baby I Want You,
Baby, my baby, my baby, oh my baby, my baby, my baby,
and Pray for Me.
Pray for me, my baby.
After recording their first songs, the group changed. A new member, Mark Green, joined. Around the same time, they left Hog Records and signed with Stang Records, a new company started by Sylvia Robinson and her husband, Joe. Stang Records was part of All Platinum Studios in New Jersey. This move helped the Moments get more attention. In 1968, the Moments had their first big hit with Not on the Outside.
Not on the outside, but inside's wrong.
The song became popular and reached number 13 on the R&B chart. It also made it to number 57 on the Billboard Hot 100. Mark Green sang the lead vocals, and his voice helped make the song a success. More people started listening to their music. Sylvia Robinson wanted to make the Moments even bigger. She hired a management team that included famous radio personalities, Frankie Crocker, Herb Hamlet, and Eddie O.J. These managers worked hard to promote the group. They booked the Moments for concerts in big cities, helping them reach more fans. When Herb Hamlet moved to a radio station in Rochester, New York, he continued to support the group. He made sure the Moments got booked for shows, keeping their music alive. The Moments were on their way to becoming stars. In 1979, the music group had problems with their record label, Stang Records. They did not agree with Joe and Sylvia. Because of this, the group decided to leave. But there was a big problem. Stang Records owned the name The Moments, so the group could not use it anymore. They had to find a new name. That is when they became Ray, Goodman, and Brown. The group had already made a name for themselves as The Moments. Their song, Love on a Two-Way Street, became a big hit.
Love on a two-way street.
It was number 1 on the R&B chart and number 3 on the pop chart. The group had changes over time. Billy Brown, Al Goodman, and John Morgan were the main members for a while. Later, Harry Ray joined, replacing Johnny Moore. Together, they recorded hits like All I Have and Sexy Mama. They had a special sound that people enjoyed. When they left Stang Records and became Ray, Goodman, and Brown, they signed with Polydor Records. Even with a new name, they continued to make great music. They proved they were more than just a name. One of their biggest songs during this time was Special Lady. It became a number 1 R&B hit. The group was successful for many years, making 28 songs that appeared on the R&B charts and 11 that reached the pop charts. Their smooth style helped change R&B music, moving it forward from the doo-wop era. They became one of the most important R&B groups of their time. They recorded many songs at Sugar Hill Records in Englewood. But in 2002, a fire destroyed the studio. Many of their master tapes were lost in the fire. This was a huge loss for the group. Al Goodman later said that he lost around $500,000 because of it. Couldn't do much but stood and watched as years of his work disappeared. Even though it was a sad moment, their music still lived on. Their songs remained popular and their influence on R&B music stayed strong. In 1969, the original members of The Moments, John Morgan, Richard Gross, and Eric Olfus, decided to leave All Platinum Records. They had problems with the way things were being handled. They were unhappy, so they left. After they left, the group had to bring in new members. Al Goodman and William "Billy" Brown joined the group, replacing the original members. This change showed that there were problems inside the group and the record company. After these changes, a new management team was brought in. This helped them gain more attention and fans. The first album released under the Stang label had a cover that showed William "Billy" Brown, Al Goodman, and John Morgan. But the album had different voices on different songs. Some of the songs were recorded in 1968 and 1969, before the lineup change. Some people say that female voices can also be heard in the background of the songs. While it was never officially confirmed, some believe that Sylvia Robinson, who was a professional singer and part of the record company, added her voice to some of the tracks. Other singers like Leslie Valentine and Retta Young, who were studio vocalists, may have also added their voices. When members left the group, the company didn't always re-record the whole song. Instead, they would only re-record the lead singer's part. This made it difficult to know exactly who was singing on some of the songs. Before the original members left, they recorded "Love on a Two-Way Street." The success of this song helped bring more attention to The Moments. Around the same time, All Platinum released another song called "My Confession of Love" by Mark Green. The B-side of that single was "I'm So Lost," which was later included on The Moments' first album.
I'm so lost without you.
Billy Brown re-recorded the lead vocals for that song. The song was later released again and had some moderate success on the charts. Another interesting release by the group was under the name Black Satin. In this version, Frankie Crocker spoke the lyrics instead of singing them. The group went through more changes after that. At first, they performed as a 4-member group at the Apollo Theater, but they quickly became a trio. Some sources say that at one point the trio consisted of Mark Green, Richard Gross, and John Morgan. Others say that it was Green, Gross, who was sometimes called Richie Horsley, and Johnny Moore. But Green, Olfus, and Gross left All Platinum in 1969. That's when Al Goodman and Billy Brown joined the group, while Morgan stayed on. Gross was often mistakenly called Richie Horsley on legal documents, album covers, and articles about the group. Billy Brown was not new to music. Before joining The Moments, he had been part of a group called The Broadways, which recorded songs for the MGM label. Goodman had also worked in music before. He had performed a few times with groups like the Corvettes and the Vipers. He was hired by Joe Robinson as a studio assistant, singer, and songwriter. Goodman also played a role in Mickey and Sylvia, the famous duo that included Sylvia Robinson. After 3 of the original members had left, Billy Brown recorded a new version of "Love on a Two-Way Street." The song had first been recorded by Leslie Valentine, but her version did not do well on the charts.
I found love on a two-way street.
The Moments version, produced by Sylvia Robinson, was originally included on their first album in 1969. The album was called Not on the Outside, but On the Inside, Strong. In early 1970, the song was remixed and released as a single. This time, it became a huge success. It stayed at #1 on the R&B chart for 5 weeks. The album also had another song by Leslie Valentine called I Won't Do Anything, with Billy Brown singing the lead vocals.
No, I won't do anything except for my...
This song became the B-side of the Love on a Two-Way Street single. In 1971, Bert Keys, who had worked with The Moments as a producer, arranger, and keyboardist, encouraged some of the original members to sign with Volt Records, a part of Stax. He had left All Platinum because of disagreements with Sylvia and Joe Robinson. Green, Gross, and Olphus decided to leave and form a new group called The Leaders. They signed with Volt/Stax and recorded their songs in New York City. The Leaders had 4 members: Green, Gross, Olphus, and Donald Spriggs. Myrna March was their manager, and Bert Keys produced their songs. After The Moments released their first album, more changes happened. John Morgan was briefly replaced by Johnny Moore, who was Sylvia Robinson's brother-in-law. Moore appeared on the cover of their second album in 1970, along with Al Goodman and Billy Brown. But Moore was soon fired after missing a live performance. For a short time, The Moments performed as a duo with just Goodman and Brown. Then, Harry Ray joined the group, forming the trio that became the most well-known lineup. Harry Ray took over as the lead singer while Billy Brown recovered from vocal problems. Ray's voice was featured on many of the group's later hits. Some of these hits included If I Didn't Care in 1970. Sexy Mama in 1973. And Look at Me, I'm in Love in 1975. After Brown's voice got better, he shared lead vocals with Ray. Al Goodman also sang sometimes, and often acted as the spokesperson for the group. The Moments had another big success when they worked with another group, the Whatnots. Together, they released the song Girls, Part 1, which reached number 25 on the US R&B charts,
Hey girls, with sunshine in their hair.
and number 3 on the UK singles chart in 1975. Ray and Goodman also started writing and producing music for other artists at All Platinum. Their first single under the new name, Special Lady, became one of their biggest hits. It reached number 1 on the R&B chart and number 5 on the pop chart in early 1980. The B-side of the single featured Deja Vu, which had lyrics by Bob Nattiello and music by Lou Toby. They continued to have success, releasing more hits like Inside of You in 1980. In 1982, after releasing their 4th album with Polydor, Harry Ray left the group to start a solo career. He was replaced by Kevin Ray Owens, who had worked as a backup singer for Luther Vandross. Ray later returned to work with Sylvia and Joe Robinson at their new label, Sugar Hill Records. However, after releasing only 1 album and a minor hit, Sweet Baby, he rejoined Goodman and Brown in 1983. The group made a comeback with EMI in 1987 with the song Take It to the Limit, which reached number 8 on the R&B charts. In 1991, Harold Eben Brown, who had sung with the Delphonics, became the new lead singer for Ray, Goodman, and Brown. He stayed with the group for 2.5 years before leaving to join the Manhattans. Later, he became the lead vocalist for the Stylistics in 2000. Harry Ray was a talented singer, but sadly, he died from a stroke on October 1, 1992. He was only 45 years old. After his death, Kevin Ray Owens replaced him in the group. The group kept performing, and sometimes Greg Willis joined them for shows and recordings, but he never became a full-time member. Another singer, Wade "Silky" Elliott, also sang with them for a short time before leaving to sign a solo contract with CBS Records. He later joined the group Blue Magic. After Owens returned, Ray, Goodman, and Brown continued performing and touring. They never stopped making music for their fans. In the early 2000s, the group worked on new projects. They released 2 albums in 2002 and 2003. One album had new songs, and the other had classic soul songs re-recorded in their style. They reunited with their old producer, George Kerr, who had worked with them in the past. They also performed with Gerald Alston from the Manhattans and sang the famous song, "Kiss and Say Goodbye." Their music still had a special place in people's hearts, and they kept their legacy alive. In 2003, something very exciting happened. Ray, Goodman, and Brown sang backup vocals for Alicia Keys on her hit song, "You Don't Know My Name." The song became a #1 R&B hit. Alicia loved their voices so much that she invited them to join her on tour. Billy Brown remembered that time as very special. He said they performed on every major TV show in the US, including Good Morning America, The View, and The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. They even performed with Alicia at Madison Square Garden, along with Missy Elliott and Beyoncé. Brown called Alicia their angel because she helped them during a slow time in their career. By 2008, the group was still performing. Owens, Goodman, and Brown continued to record and tour. Sometimes Larry "Ice" Winfrey also joined them. They performed their classic hits and made sure their fans could still enjoy their music live. They never stopped sharing their love for singing. Sadly, on July 26, 2010, Goodman passed away at the age of 67. It was a big loss for the group, but even after his passing, Ray, Goodman, and Brown kept moving forward. In 2012, Harold Eben Brown, another talented singer, joined Billy Brown to re-record The Moment's Greatest Hits, Volume 1. The album was released in 2014 under Universal Music Group. This project brought back the classic sounds of their early days.
Really, it's a sad occasion for us because of the untimely death of my partner for almost 43 years, Al Goodman.
The same year, Larry Winfrey officially joined the group to replace Goodman. With Owens and Brown still there, they were back to being a trio again.
And I know that he's looking down on us or upon us, saying do what we do.
The group kept their tradition alive, singing and performing as they always had. They knew their fans still wanted to hear the music that made them famous.
And now I'm left to carry the torch, so to speak.
In 2016, Billy Brown suffered a stroke. It was a scary time for him and the group, but thankfully, he recovered quickly. After a short break, he returned to performing. His love for music kept him going, and he didn't want to stop doing what he loved. In February 2019, Ray, Goodman, and Brown performed on the Soul Train cruise. It was a special moment for them and their fans. Even after all these years, they were still bringing joy to people with their music. Their smooth harmonies and classic songs were still loved by many. In 2022, the group changed again. Kevin Owens and Larry Winfrey left, and 2 new members, Keenan Blount and Kenny Brown, joined Billy Brown. Billy was the only original member left, but he kept the group alive with the new singers. They continued performing as Ray, Goodman, and Brown, keeping the legacy of the group strong. Meanwhile, Mark Green was invited to join Ray, Goodman, and Brown again, but he refused. He said he never received any royalties for his work. Instead, he worked on his own projects. He created a CD called Love Is More Than Spoken and later released Unspoken Moments. He also took legal control of the Moments name. Now performing as the Moments featuring Mark Green, he released an album called Urban Legacy in 2000. The group included Solomon Cunningham, Hewitt Cunningham, and Lauren Brown. They toured and performed, keeping the spirit of the Moments alive. Even after all these changes, Ray, Goodman, and Brown's music remained strong. Their songs were still loved by many, and their legacy lived on through performances and recordings. Their journey had ups and downs, but their love for music never faded. Speaking of unpaid royalties, the Sugar Hill Gang, the Moments, and Sylvia Robinson's estate went after Universal Music Group, claiming they got stiffed on royalties from deals stretching back decades. Sylvia and Joe Robinson built All Platinum Inc., which later became Sugar Hill Records, the label that gave the world rappers delight and helped shape hip-hop. Despite their success, artists weren't seeing the money they were promised. After years of legal battles, a settlement was finally reached, covering unpaid royalties and publishing rights for legends like Grandmaster Flash and the Funky 4+1. It was a long fight, but the artists finally got some of what they were owed, exposing just how hard it can be to get fair pay in the music industry.
We just thank you for all of your support through the years, and we'll continue to try to continue to give you the shows and the music that you've loved from us for the past 42 years.
In the late 1980s and early 1990s, many R&B artists faced serious problems in the music industry. Record labels controlled everything, and artists had little power. Many singers and groups, especially female ones, signed bad contracts without knowing the full details. These contracts made them work hard but paid them very little. They sold many records, but most of the money went to the record labels and managers. Some artists did not even own their own songs. They were trapped in unfair deals, unable to leave or make more money. Female R&B groups in the New Jill Swing era suffered the most. They worked long hours in the studio, performed at concerts, and promoted their music. But when the money came in, they received very little. Managers and record labels kept most of the earnings. Some groups even had to borrow money from their labels to pay for clothes, travel, and music videos. This put them in debt. No matter how successful they were, they remained financially stuck. Many of these artists were young and excited to become famous. They trusted the people who promised to help them. But instead of being treated fairly, they were used for profit. Some singers found out too late that their contracts were unfair. Even when they tried to fight back, the legal system made it hard for them to win. Some had to leave music completely because they could not make a living from it. The R&B industry was also biased. The music business favored certain artists and styles over others. Black R&B artists, especially women, had a harder time getting support. Their music was often undervalued. Even when they made hits, they did not always get the credit they deserved. Radio stations played their songs less than pop or rock music. Awards shows often ignored their success. This made it even harder for them to grow their careers. The Moments were a male R&B group, but they worked in the same industry. Even though their struggles were different, they were still part of a system that did not treat artists fairly. Many male groups also faced problems with contracts, money, and control over their music. The whole industry was built to benefit the record labels, not the artists. Despite these challenges, R&B artists kept making great music. They continued to sing, write, and perform, even when they were not treated fairly. Some artists later spoke out about their struggles. They warned new singers to be careful before signing contracts. Over time, more artists learned how to fight for their rights and get better deals. But in the late 1980s and early 1990s, many R&B stars suffered in silence, unable to change the system. The music industry has improved in some ways, but problems still exist. Artists today have more ways to control their careers, but they still have to be careful. The struggles of past R&B singers taught important lessons about fairness and respect in the industry. Their experiences showed how important it is for artists to understand their rights and protect their work.